Good morning, everyone, and welcome. It is Friday. It is FBC Radio Live, and we are wrapping up the final, not wrapping up, we're previewing the final weekend of the NFL regular season. And, national championship game is coming up on Monday, too, which will be fun. But it's kind of going to be a little bit of a wacky weekend, John, because a lot of backups are playing. There's 4 divisions that have yet to be clinched. Which kind of makes it all worthwhile because, we end the weekend with Miami and Buffalo for all the marbles in the AFC East. But the NFC South, NFC East, and NFC, which one did I forget? I forgot one of them.
Both South. The
Both
AFC
South.
South, the NFC South, the AFC East,
I forgot this. I thought I said NFC South too, but they were both.
The NFC East.
Yeah. So I said
both East and both South.
Both East and both South. There we go.
The North and the West have been conquered already.
There we go, apparently. So that also means we're going to get a number of backups playing, of course. Guys like Patrick Mahomes is sitting. Joe Flacco is sitting in Cleveland, because they got that all wrapped up. So it should be some interesting little storylines going into it. Of course, if you're really into the drama up in New England, and I know, John, I know you got your guys that you have in mind. I quite frankly do not see this as Bill Belichick's last game as the Patriots head coach. I think we'll all look back at it in the offseason and be like, oh, that was silly to think that was going to happen. Even Tom Curran is doubting his own report, John. Did you know that?
Yeah, I think it would be silly if he came back. So that would be even sillier than what we're talking about right now. I think he's as good as done, and that they're going to move on from him. Although I think there's the scintilla of hope if you're a Belichick fan that Kraft gets cold feet and doesn't want to make the move and wants to just keep the status quo and just maybe knock it off as a bad year or a bad 4-year run.
I'll say this: I'm a Patriots fan, but I want Belichick back because again. Okay. We've gone through it before. It's like, I'll challenge you to name 3 or 4 better coaches than Bill Belichick
in the league right now.
Yeah.
Oh Lord, Andy Reid, John Harbaugh, Sean McVay.
You think Sean McVay is a better head coach?
Yeah.
Why?
At this point, yeah.
Why?
Why do players age out but coaches can't? Maybe Bill Belichick.
You're deflecting, John. You're not answering the question.
Name 3 coaches who I would take over him in a heartbeat.
No, but I'm asking you why Sean McVay?
Because Sean McVay, with a roster that looked like it was in a total rebuild, has a team in the playoffs.
They have a quarterback, John. They have Matt Stafford.
Rookies.
They have Matt Stafford.
Well, that's Bill Belichick's fault for moving on from Tom Brady and having no plan for the last 2 years at quarterback.
Well, and again, no one's
He's the general manager.
And what was like I said, I'm shocked that you say Sean McVay because again, there's no reason to think that because if anything, the last time they went head to head, he was thoroughly outcoached.
5 years ago, when Bill Belichick had Tom Brady and he had Jared Goff. And since then, the Rams have won a Super Bowl since.
Okay.
Just to remind people, I know only
so the Rams Super Bowl from a couple years ago plays a big role in this, but Belichick having won a Super Bowl just 2 years prior to that and 8 altogether as a coach.
Yeah.
Nope.
Well, no, 6. Stop with the 8 with the 2 with the defensive coordinator.
Fine, 6.
Because then, I think
6
is have 5 then.
6 is still a lot more than 1.
Else. I get it.
6 is a lot more than 1.
And Sean McVay's also younger than you are. He's
is he?
Coached for 7 years. I think he is.
Yeah, shoot.
You're about the same age.
Yeah, we're almost identically the same. Maybe. And
I'm not as old as Bill Belichick.
No,
despite some rumors out there.
No, but Sean McVay won with Matt Stafford. He had to get rid of a first overall quarterback because he could not win with that. So yes, has Bill Belichick
went to the Super Bowl with Jared Goff, didn't he? And went to the playoffs 3 times with Jared Goff.
Sure. You know who else they had on that team? Aaron Donald. All these other stars.
Who was there before he got there? How bad were the Rams the 10 years before Sean McVay showed up? They may have been the worst team in football for 10 years.
Oh, sure. But all of a sudden, also they were also shelling out for every big name free agent and big name acquisition that they can get. So therefore, they built a stacked team. Again, you look at the Patriots.
Talk to Robert Kraft about that. Then maybe he ought to spend.
Again, the biggest problem here is they got the quarterback position wrong. I am not denying that. I don't think it's at this point, I don't think it's a fireable offense because, well, everything else is fairly okay. And certainly the defense is in a great position to continue to be a great unit. So what do? Well, you have guys like Kendrick Bourne and others that say, hey, I want to come back and play for the Patriots. Well, yeah, not too many players say that on a team that is, has the perception of being such a dumpster fire as the Patriots. But the reality of it is, John, it really hasn't been that bad. Yes, they've struggled on offense. And like I said, there is a very clear path for them to return to being a playoff contender and put potentially more, depending, again, on how you solve the quarterback position. But the defense is I mean, John, they held the team to 6 points and lost a game. The defense is fine.
No, they had a 3-week stretch where they gave up 26 points and managed to lose all 3 games. The offense is a disaster. I mean, the offensive line is a mess. They have no weapons of note, really. Their wide receivers are all pedestrian. I think maybe
they have decent. They need something. They need something to take it over the top. But I think they have something they can work with because, think about this when. Well, I mean, Kendrick Bourne's a nice player. I mean, I'm not saying
he's coming off a knee injury.
No, I understand. I understand.
Wide receiver at best, don't you think? I mean,
sure. No, I'm saying they have some things to build with, is what I'm trying to say. It's not completely a disaster. Look, the offensive line injured, guys that you expected a little more out of took kind of steps back. So that's going to be a position of need, but. Quite frankly, John, if there's someone who can pull out offensive linemen, I have a lot of faith in Bill Belichick, and I know you'll point out Dante Scarnecchia, and absolutely Dante Scarnecchia was
Isaiah Wynn and Cole Strange, and
Cole Strange was having a great season until he got hurt.
He was having a great season. I think he actually should be moved to tackle.
Well,
I don't think he's a guard.
But and this is the
That's
thing
what
too.
I would do if I was running things.
Clearly, Trent Brown has worn out his welcome and has been a huge problem for this team. When your giant left tackle, who you relied quite a bit on when he was at the top of his game, all of a sudden is a guy that looks like he just doesn't want to be there. Well, yeah, that's a problem. That's going to really hurt your offensive line. When your center isn't playing at the highest level that you expect him to be, then yes, that's going to hurt the overall cohesiveness of that line. Cole Strange gets hurt in the midst of a great season because of his progression. From rookie year to, playing some really solid football, getting graded out fairly well throughout those games. So all of a sudden it's like, yeah, there's a path to fill in those gaps. And you pointed out a couple mishaps, and it's like, you know what? Mishaps happen. They've had a lot of hits. Remember how much heat they took for taking Logan Mankins? Who the hell is Logan Mankins? Well,
Yeah, it was 18 years ago. I mean,
the point is
more of a staff. That was Scott Pioli, who was, Belichick, I think, had more of a support staff then than he has now.
It's everything but Belichick for you, though.
No,
that's the thing. Scott Pioli was picking this guy, and Dante Scarnecchia was doing this, and it was Tom Brady, and of course.
Tom Brady,
well, yeah, I mean, look, yeah, I'm not gonna.
We'll agree on that.
Yeah, we'll agree on that. But
there's low scoring offense in the NFL, so I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
No, a quarterback, John. It's the quarterback. It's 100% the quarterback position because. Clearly,
where do you find one?
Well, again, that's not the easy part, but there's ways to do it. Do they believe in one of these young kids? I don't know. Personally, I would never say a sure thing about a young kid because we see it every time. There's no sure thing like that. Is a guy like Kirk Cousins an option? As much as I hate to say it, he would fit well with this team, John. I mean, they have a good defense. What's that?
He's probably gonna ask for $35 million a year. They don't want to give Brady $25 million a year. So
again, I mean, you would hope that they'd learn from their lessons and different circumstances at the time, because at the time, the Patriots didn't have any money. And again, you can criticize their decision making leading up to that, whatever the case may be. They have a lot of money this offseason, and they have options with their draft capital. And again, if they decide, hey, we want to go the veteran quarterback route. Well, there are a couple options. I'm not going to say it's going to make them Super Bowl favorites, but it puts them in a position to at least compete and positively grow, as opposed to growing moral victories. This team, I think, has a lot of great leadership, including the head coach. You can hear it from a majority of the players who speak very highly of him still and want to play for him. So again, I think that matters, and I think that is part of how this defense has continued to play well. I mean, how many times, John, have we seen from teams? I mean, look at the Eagles right now. They feel like they're winning games, and they feel like they're at each, well, not so much lately, but overall they've been winning games this season, and they feel like they're at each other's throats because there's a divide. I mean, yes, there's frustration from the defensive players with the offense, I'm sure, but there's no blame game going on. There's no dissension, at least publicly. And I think that's a lot of credit to the coaching staff and primarily Belichick, because in a situation like this, John, you're almost certain to get that type of stuff, especially with a team that has a defense as good as the Patriots have had and an offense that has literally lost. They lost 3 straight games when they allowed only 26 points. That's almost seems impossible.
Yeah, it does, and I'm sure the defense wasn't pleased with that, because if they had just gotten pedestrian,
I'm sure they weren't either.
They might have won 2 of the 3 of them,
but they didn't say anything, and it didn't.
I don't know. Jabril Peppers didn't he? We heard him.
Yeah, but that wasn't. You can even hear it in the tone. I mean, like I think they understand that overall they just isn't a good season for them. I think that's a little bit of self-deprecating humor type thing, as opposed to being like, oh, we suck. And, this situation, like, he wants to come back. These guys want to come back. They want to stay here. And it's like, you don't often see that for a team that is maybe going to win 5 games just by the grace of playing the Jets twice.
Kendrick Bourne and Jabril Peppers. Like, I mean, I'm sure they want to come back if they get paid.
Oh, look, I think you're
Kendrick Bourne like a top 10 wide receiver.
Well, I mean, I'd have to look at the wide receiver free agent market is pretty robust, as they say. This offseason
is probably the lead guy.
Mike Evans
will be. Look, if the Patriots go get Mike Evans, God bless them. That would be, I think, a fine addition.
Oh, sure, and
either one of those guys.
Well, think about that though, John. All of a sudden, Mike Evans, Kendrick Bourne, Demario Douglas, who I think looks like he could be a very good player. He hasn't had quite the opportunity, but also at the same time, the quarterbacks just haven't been good. But he looks like I'm not saying this he's going to do this, but he looks like a Tyreek Hill type of player. Very shifty.
I like him. I think he's a good player.
No, so that's what I'm saying. So all of a sudden, you have options to quickly improve this team. And again, I think they have some nice tight ends. I'm not, the problem is, again, I keep going back to the quarterback. Like, I think the tight end is the hardest position to utilize if you have a bad quarterback, because you're going and attacking the middle of the field. So quite often, John, if you're not good at playing quarterback, you're going to turn the ball over if you're doing that a lot. And well, I mean,
it's a method quarterback. That's the biggest thing. You put a very good or a competent quarterback on that team, maybe there's 7 and 9 going into this weekend.
Well, again, I think you're great. I think you're greatly underselling what the rest of this team has done and what they can do with a better quarterback. Because again, like I said, when you allow 26 points over a 3-week span and you lose all 3 of those games, again, a semi-competent quarterback in that situation, you flip that, all of a sudden, that's those 7 wins right now. So you're telling me that they couldn't win some of those other closer games earlier in the season if they didn't have better quarterback play? All of a sudden you're talking about a pretty, interesting flip. Even if it means they're just over 500, that's a huge improvement, because then you go out and get, you hope you can find a solution to upgrade that quarterback. And at the end of the day, that's the biggest issue I want to solve. I don't want to solve that and installing an entirely new regime, because if you get rid of Bill Belichick, you're not going to Steve Belichick or Gerard Mayo. I don't believe any of that. If you get rid of Bill Belichick, you're getting rid of that era of Patriots football. You're not going to Josh McDaniels. You're not going to Bill O'Brien. Why, John? Why? If you're going to do that, just keep Bill Belichick.
If that's the case, like I've said this a million times, if Belichick and Kraft ever opened a restaurant, Josh McDaniels would be the front end manager. The head of the kitchen would be Matt Patricia. Billy O'Brien would be the bar manager, and like Steve and Brian Belichick would be the busboys. Like they're so loyal to these guys that have been within the organization for years. I just think it's time to let's try something different instead of just being so incestuous with like the idea of bringing Josh McDaniels back just frightens the hell out of me. Why? Why would you do that?
Look,
Billy O'Brien hasn't exactly been successful running this offense either this year. Actually, Matt Patricia did a better job at offensive coordinator than Billy O'Brien did in terms of putting points on the board.
I would, as strictly an offensive coordinator, I would take Josh McDaniels over all of those guys, just because I do think I think he, I think he's a better X's and O's guy. I think that's what he's good at. I think offensively, obviously, when you fill his plate with head coaching duties and everything like that, I think that's when it gets a little much for him. So that's a situation.
He's a lieutenant, not a general.
Right, exactly. So I like, you can criticize him all you want for being a kind of colossal failure as a head coach, considering, I remember at the time we were laughing, like there was no way I would have ever thought his tenure with the Raiders would last shorter than his tenure with the Broncos, but it did. But, offensive coordinator wise, I just don't think I know it's part of it's okay, we just want to see something different. And I understand that. I get that. And I understand there's a, in some ways just let's just let's just start new. But at the same time, and I don't think this cliche is any truer than it is now. The grass isn't always greener on the other side. And Belichick's not, I don't think he's at the point. He's not at Joe Paterno's point where he was just there, absolutely, right. Just not being he's still very much involved and still very much a big part of why this team has succeeded in the ways it has this season. And unfortunately, yes, like I said, I mean, there's no doubt you get the quarterback position wrong, that's going to set you back. And you can criticize him all you want for that, but at the end of the day, I don't think it's worth moving on from him because, like I said, this team, they're a couple big pieces away with a lot of ammunition. They have 3 targets to hit and a few full clips, if I'm getting into the gun shooting analogy, apparently. But
the South is starting to rub off on you, huh?
I know, apparently, Jesus. But you know what I'm saying, though.
I would be thinking if we're going to 3 restaurants and we're going to have 3 good meals, that would be more pleasant to me than.
Well, no, I'm not saying buckshot.
But I know exactly.
This, but
if they can, the quarterback, if they get that right, will solve a lot of problems because all of a sudden your tight end will look better, your wide receivers will look better, heck, even your offensive line will look better, right? Because the quarterback still has a say on what happens there. Now, finding that particular quarterback is not that easy because every team seems to be looking for one, with the exception of a handful. That's the biggest thing they have to do,
and that's where Bill Belichick can still be a factor because, again, I understand the local media has been foaming at the mouth, waiting for him to get fired or move on or whatever it is they want. But across the league, the sentiment is there's still a whole hell of a lot of respect for Bill Belichick. And like I said, if you're a guy like, again, Kirk Cousins, even, a guy that's I think is an okay quarterback. I don't think he's going to, carry you to a Super Bowl. But a good quarterback on a team that has, we assume that I think they can improve the offensive line from this year to next just by virtue of replacing a couple of players like Trent Brown and some better health. So all of a sudden you're on a team that has a really good defense, that has a really good head coach who has a history of winning, all this stuff. That's appealing to maybe a veteran quarterback. And I'm not saying, again, that they're going to, lead this team and carry them to a Super Bowl. I think that's obviously always a goal, but realistically, again, the draft isn't going to produce overnight the next Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Aaron Rodgers. Very unlikely. I mean, I don't know enough about these college kids, but, I'm basing this off history, John. History. Generally,
those are like once in a decade type quarterbacks, exactly. But you can win with something less than that. I mean, I know it's important to have that great quarterback, and I'm looking at Cleveland, right? And I don't know what Cleveland's going to do in the postseason, but that team's 11-5.
Yeah,
they're on fire, and they've used 4 different starting quarterbacks. The last being 57-year-old Joe Flacco, who looks outstanding in this. But again, got a good offensive line. He's got some nice weapons, a good defense. So you're able to build that roster. Look,
very honestly, John, very similar to the Patriots, minus Amari Cooper, I think, is better than any wide receiver the Patriots have.
And their offensive line is way better.
Exactly. But when the Patriots were healthy, you put in Matthew Judon into that equation and Christian Gonzalez. Those defenses are very similar because they just do a lot of things very well, and they're very stingy. And your offense is Cleveland's they don't have like just a bunch of stars across the board. You know what I mean? Like they have really nice players, and like I said, Amari Cooper's better than
the tight end is also better, and Njoku is better than Hunter Henry.
Yeah,
again, the offensive line is better.
I do agree.
Garrett, I know Matthew Judon is really good. Miles Garrett's another level.
No, I agree. I'm not going to argue with that. But the makeup and I don't think the differences are that drastic. Like Njoku, I do think is a better player. But again, I just feel like the Patriots, this combination of Gesicki and Hunter Henry, I think is a good combination. I just think I think more so than anything that the quarterback play has held them back, because you're talking about, unfortunately, you have two quarterbacks that hold on to the ball too long and make terrible decisions, which I mean,
other than that, they're really good.
Other than that, they're like really mediocre.
They're not necessarily accurate. We don't know about their leadership ability. Other than that,
other than that, they're players. But it's funny but I mean, at least in this sense, there's a very clear, not solution, but path to a solution. And that is, you have to fix the quarterback position. You fix the quarterback position to some degree. Like I said, you're not going to go out and get, unless he decides he wants to play, you're not going to go out and get Tom Brady. We talked about this the other day. That would be the perfect, John, transition, if you want to, in my opinion. But I think
do this? Would you name him player coach?
No.
Okay.
No, because
that's a bit much to be player coach in the NFL.
Too much. And look, I mean, we know Tom respects authority. That's his deal. Like he wants to be coached. So I don't think he wants that response. Like he'll be out there and he'll coach on the field as an example, but I don't think he wants that responsibility to, like, he wants to defer to that guy, Bill Belichick. You know what I mean? Not
Bill Belichick in this case. I think that ship sailed.
Well,
but
of course
that would be the coolest thing, having a quarterback. Well, I don't think Tom Brady would come back here to play for Bill Belichick. I think. Look, they've made up.
Look, I don't think Tom Brady. I don't think
I think that's fine.
I'm ripping the Band-Aid off now. I don't think Tom Brady's coming back. I don't want to get my mind all like in a.
Well, I know. I don't want to get you too excited heading into the weekend.
Yeah, I don't need that.
You've got other things to worry about. But yeah, that would be the ultimate surprise, wouldn't it? Next week Tom Brady comes out of retirement and signs with the Patriots. That would be pretty cool.
Look, you never know. I'm going to start DMing him. If his inbox is open, I'll start sending him a message like, you want to come play. Yeah. Like, see if the force works. You want to come play for the Patriots. Like, I mean, honestly, like that, but that's the point. That's what I'm saying. Like, even a 75% Tom Brady improves this team drastically, because again, it's just the quarterback position has just been an utter failure for this team. And that to me is the biggest thing you can criticize Bill on, that, you kind of fumbled that situation coming out of it. And then absolutely that is fair game. No doubt about it. It's not an easy position to get right. So you can argue that he fumbled it, or you know what? He was just like many other coaches, that they just got the quarterback position wrong. Because I mean, how many teams select first round quarterbacks and they're on their second or third team 5 years later? That's just how the NFL is. So I'm not necessarily, it's not like, John, it's not like every team that gets a top 10 pick and picks a quarterback hits the pick, and the Patriots were like the one team that missed it. Like, no, I mean,
oh no, oh my God, it's more likely than not that.
That's what I'm saying. And I think,
can you name a time when the first two picks in a draft were quarterbacks and they both were really, really good, like high end? I mean, I can't even think of it. Right? I mean, okay, Goff and Wentz were okay, but I mean,
I wouldn't consider that, because Wentz is again, he's on his third, fourth, fifth team at this point.
Yeah.
Goff has
he's starting a game
for Washington, right? No.
Yeah, somebody. He's on his ninth team.
It's so funny.
Turning into the Ricky Henderson of football.
Seriously, or Ryan Fitzpatrick. Like I said,
Yeah.
him and Gardner Minshew. I've been calling Gardner Minshew the Ryan Fitzpatrick of the new Ryan Fitzpatrick because it's so boom or bust with him.
Yeah, trick or treat, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because
Jameis Winston and
you can stop right
Mariota,
there.
that was not.
I was going to say you can stop right there with Jameis Winston. I don't even need to know who the second one is.
If RG3 had stayed healthy, maybe Andrew Luck and RG3.
Yeah, but
already retired, and Brady was still playing. Was drafted 12 years before them.
Yeah.
It's just you may have to go back, and the clock judge might like this conversation. You might have to go back to 1971 when the first 3 picks in the draft were quarterbacks: Jim Plunkett, Archie Manning, and Dante Pastorini. And look, Plunkett won 2 Super Bowls. Manning was on a god-awful team. He was a fabulous quarterback. And Pastorini went to the playoffs quite a bit with Houston. But even that's not.
What was the top of the 83 draft?
It was Elway was the first pick. The second pick that year, I believe, might have been Eric Dickerson.
Right. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
That year, the second quarterback drafted was Todd Blackledge.
Yeah.
Who went to Penn State, went to Kansas City, and then
that's right.
Kelly went as the third quarterback, 1 pick before the Patriots took Tony Eason. Then the Jets, who screw up everything, took Kenny O'Brien, who's a pretty good quarterback, and then Miami with the second to last pick in the first round took one Dante Marino.
Yeah,
so you had 3 Hall of Famers in that draft out of 6. That's a pretty good hit rate.
I'm pretty impressed at that recall right there. That's impressive. I
covered that draft. I remember we interviewed Tony Eason.
I wasn't alive.
Hall. You weren't even alive.
No, I was not.
No, I was there. I chronicled it. We were in Foxborough. They drafted Tony Eason, and they told us he's flying in. We all went to Faneuil Hall. They took him from the airport to Faneuil Hall, and we got to interview Tony Eason. The Patriots really wanted Jim Kelly, who went 1 pick before and then ended up playing in the U.S. Football League for a couple of years. Obviously, Kelly had a better career than Eason. People that don't know much about Patriots football history, Eason wasn't all that bad. The memory of Eason in the Super Bowl is jarring. Like, he just looked frightened. And John Hanna, who was as tough could be, despised him. But he had 2 really good years with the Patriots, 84 and 86. He wasn't that bad, but obviously he wasn't Elway, Kelly, or Marino for sure.
Yeah, and you're talking about perhaps the greatest quarterback draft of all time with those 3.
Yeah,
so
it's got to be.
But anyway,
but you don't see that with these. We're talking about 4 guys going to be taken in the top 10. Like, okay, one's probably going to be really good. One's going to be maybe okay, and the other 2 might flame out. And that's been the way it's been for the last 50 years.
And that's one of the reasons why it's like I'm not looking at what happened, and how the Patriots or have kind of failed. Like, I don't look at that as a colossal failure. I look at it as being a situation like every other team. So if I were to go and bring in some young hotshot coach or try to go in a new direction, you're pretty much asking for the same result, but you're also asking for someone to do something they haven't done ever before. And I think I think there's value in Belichick's history and his ability, because I don't really think that's an issue. Like I said, I don't think he's Joe Paterno at the end, where he was just a figurehead, and didn't really,
No, he's still coaching. I think in-game coaching, he's still very, very good.
Yeah,
I don't doubt that.
Well, and that's the crux of my point is that I think it would be foolish to get rid of what I think is a commodity, because again, you just don't have a lot of good coaches in this league, and I certainly not ones that are available. And I look at it and I'm like, I don't see an obvious upgrade, nor do I see anything even close. And you're really rolling the dice not only on what I would assume would be a first time head coach, maybe, because I don't want any retread. What coach out there that
wasn't Bill Belichick a retread though?
Well, yes, he was. But what the landscape of the current unemployed NFL head coaches right now that are just waiting for another opportunity, I'll pass.
Maybe Dan Quinn. Maybe Dan Quinn's probably the one. I know he lost to the Patriots in the Super Bowl.
No, I don't care about that. Like he's
he looks good bald though. I think that's what I like about Dan Quinn. He looks good
Yeah.
with his head bald. I think that
I think you're biased.
No, I actually have some hair for a 61-year-old.
Yeah.
Or soon to be 61-year-old. I don't have your head of hair, you and Joe Burrow there, your younger brother. I didn't get everything. I got these boyishly good looks
I got to go get a haircut, to be honest with you. It's getting a little out of control.
Me too. I'm due for one. It's starting to get a little
it's little flares off the side of my head. That's when I know when it starts. I get a few more grays and it gets a little bit more out of control.
Cowlicks, right? Remember the cowlicks?
Oh yeah. No, I got plenty of those.
Yeah,
especially on my.
Good. As long as you have cowlicks, that's good though. That means you have hair.
Yeah, that's a good point.
My plan though is Gerard Mayo is president of football operations, Adam Peters as general manager, and Jed Fish as head coach. Now, no one's mentioned Jed Fish, who was here in 2020 as quarterback coach. He coached under Sean McVay before that, so that's checking off a very important box for me.
Of course.
But he's also done a very good job at the University of Arizona the last 3 years. So I know you don't want to reach into the college ranks to bring in a coach, but the guy coached in the NFL for a long period of time, and he's turned around a major college program in 3 short years. So that is what I would do if I was Robert Kraft.
Thank God you're not Robert Kraft, John. No offense.
No, I don't know. We'll find out in about a week and a half.
Yeah,
we can comment on that.
Yeah, exactly. One of us will be right and one of us will be wrong. So we're heading for that, clash. Little
something's going to happen where we're both kind of right and we're both kind of wrong.
Yeah, and then we'll have no satisfying conclusion to this debate. But that just means we can continue it next year. So, anyways, all right. Well, we spent an awful amount of a long time on all that, and I was not planning on that. So we're gonna have to dive right into these picks to finish out the show, finish out the week. This is our last week we're doing regular season picks. Obviously, we'll get into it for the postseason, but we're gonna kind of cruise right through these. We're gonna start with Pittsburgh, and reminder, folks, there's a lot of backups playing, a lot of divisions, and playoff seeding has been already determined, so there's no motivation for some of these people to play. But Pittsburgh at Baltimore, I'm still going to go with Baltimore here. Baltimore is obviously the number 1 seed in the AFC. They have the MVP favorite Lamar Jackson sitting out, but I'll take the Ravens.
Yeah, me too. I think they're going to still want to keep Pittsburgh out of the playoffs. It's one of the best rivalries in football, right? Jets, Patriots can't stand each other. Same thing with the Ravens and Steelers, Packers and Bears. Those are all strong rivalries, and I think Baltimore's want to keep Pittsburgh out of the playoffs. I like the Ravens.
All right, next, Houston at Indianapolis, a situation where we actually do have something on the line here. The AFC South is yet to be determined. I'm going with Houston to win this game. I like, C.J. Stroud's obviously been back, so I think he's going to play well on the road, and I like the Texans to do their part in hopefully getting that AFC South title.
Yeah, I mean, if they win, they're guaranteed at least a wild card, and then if Jacksonville loses on Sunday, they win the division. I like Houston in this. I think they've been slightly more consistent than the Colts, and C.J. Stroud's going to end his rookie season, on a high note. All
right, Atlanta at New Orleans. Flip a coin. I'll take New Orleans at home.
I'll take Atlanta. They're both still alive technically, because if Tampa loses to Carolina, then the winner of this game could win the division. It's very complicated, but I'll take Atlanta. It seems like when these teams meet, the road team always seems to win.
Sure. I don't know. I don't know the numbers.
I think I might be making that up, but you know what? It sounded good, right?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know. Sure.
Yeah, sure. Whatever he says, go with it.
Just go with it.
Go with it. You remember the 1983 draft.
Right.
He must know what's going on.
Meanwhile, there are people listening saying, he wasn't even right on any of those picks. What is he talking about?
Man. No, I nailed that draft.
I know. Yeah, trust me, you spoke with the confidence of someone who was clearly there. And since I wasn't alive,
I'll sound like Chris Berman.
Yeah, right.
Anchored that draft. Those drafts used to start at like 8 in the morning, Ian, on like a Tuesday.
Those
like they are today. It was great.
Yeah, it was before the NFL bastardized all this stuff. Yeah. Just let's suck every nickel and dime out of everything we could possibly get. Oh, good for them, because it's a machine.
Pete Rozelle smoking cigarettes at the table. It was in like this little ballroom. It was so different.
Like a hotel Hilton or something like that.
GSW in New York or something.
Oh man. Jacksonville at Tennessee, to combine it with my Houston winning over Indianapolis. I have Tennessee winning this one because I'm just so out on Jacksonville that I think they're gonna fumble this all the way to the end and watch Houston take their division crown. So I'll take Tennessee in this one.
I'll take Jacksonville, but I'm pretty sure now that, get it, you are not allowed to travel to Jacksonville within your own state, because if you show up there, there's going to be a lot of issues.
I don't want to go to Jacksonville. I do not want to go to Jacksonville.
Apparently no one does. So, yeah, that does make sense. So,
look, the last time I was in Jacksonville was when I moved down here and I had to drive through Jacksonville or drive by it. I don't even think I went through it. Just kind of.
It's a massive city, right? I think
it's big.
Second or third largest city in the country in terms of size.
Yeah, it's just like
not population, but area.
To me, it's like it's so far away from where I live, even though it's in the same state, obviously. And it's like I don't have any need for going anywhere like north of like a little bit north of Tampa. Like other than that, like that whole part of the state, I just don't care about. So it's not just Jacksonville, but I have gone to a game in Jacksonville though. I did go see the Patriots and Jaguars on Christmas Eve, 2006. As a matter of fact, yeah, long time ago.
Okay.
Long time ago. Oh, well, it was the Patriots won a Super Bowl there once, so I do have some affection for that. So it was nice to see and be in that stadium. But anyways, Minnesota at Detroit. Detroit obviously has won their division. Already hung a banner for it, and good for them because they don't really have any banners hanging up. So got to do something. I'll take Detroit in this one.
Yeah, Detroit. That's first divisional title in 50 years.
Yeah,
that's
crazy.
Amazing. Especially now, the last 20 years, there's only 4 teams in every division. You would think just by process of osmosis, someone would win it occasionally. Yeah, I like Detroit in this one. I think they're going to kind of still keep fighting. Maybe they can get a higher seed, although I think they're locked in at 3. But I think Detroit will be in good shape.
All right, next, New England hosting the Jets, and by virtue of it being the Jets, I'm going to take the Patriots because go, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to take the Jets. I want the better draft choice for the Patriots.
I mean, sure, yeah.
I honestly don't know one person picking the Jets. I don't think if Joe Beningo, who used to work at FAN and is a devout Jets fan, is picking the Jets. Everyone's picking the Patriots. I'll go the other way. I'll take the Jets.
Yeah, there you go. Honestly, like it's not. I'm the only reason I'm picking is because the Patriots just always beat the Jets. Like the Jets will somehow fumble and bumble this the entire way, and yeah. So, anyways, Tampa Bay at Carolina. Big disappointment from the Buccaneers last week. I think they right the ship, pun intended, on the road against Carolina because Carolina is a bad team. I don't think I'd like if you're a Bucs fan, you want to see them win pretty convincingly. But a win's a win, and a win gets them the NFC South division title. So I'll take the Buccaneers.
Yeah, they were god-awful last week, right, with an opportunity to win the division. They've got a second opportunity against the worst team in football. They get it done. I like Tampa.
All right, next, Cincinnati hosting Cleveland, and Cleveland without Joe Burrow, without Joe Flacco, playing like Joe Burrow, apparently, these last handful of weeks. Bengals without Joe Burrow, but we've seen them play pretty well. I'm going to take the Bengals at home. Cleveland's locked into what they're in, and I just I like the Bengals in this situation.
Yeah, I think they'll win. Cleveland probably rest quite a few of their starters because they're going to have a game next weekend. I like the Bengals as well.
Seattle at Arizona. I'll take the Seahawks. Arizona is, if you're a Patriots fan, obviously you want to see them lose as well or win, but I'll take Seattle.
Yep, I'm with you on that.
All right, Packers hosting the Bears. I'll take Packers. I mean, Chicago, they might have something in Justin Fields. He's played really well. I think they've made some nice moves, and they're sitting pretty with that first overall pick. And if they already have a quarterback, that's a good position to be in. But in this situation, I do like Jordan Love and the Packers.
I'm going to take Chicago. I mean, the Packers last season had an opportunity to get into playoffs and laid an egg against Detroit. The Bears not quite as hot as Detroit was last year down the stretch, but playing much better football than they have the last several years. I like Chicago in a mild upset.
All right, Giants hosting the Eagles. I'm taking the Eagles, but at this point, nothing would surprise me with this Eagles team. But they should be able to beat the Giants even on the road.
I would think so, man. If they lose this one, they would have lost 5 out of 6 down the stretch. They'd be really limping into the playoffs. Get a figure they'll kind of right the ship a little bit. Giants win or lose depending on what happens with the draft pick here. So I'll take the Eagles as well.
All right. Rams at 49ers. Again, the 49ers locked into number 1 seed. Probably no Purdy, no Christian McCaffrey. I'll take the Rams.
Yeah. Coaching advantage, Sean McVay over. Yeah, I'll take the Rams too. They're a team I don't know if anybody wants to face. They've been playing great football. Their only loss the last month and a half was at Baltimore in overtime. But yeah, I'll take the Rams in this one. San Francisco's going to rest pretty much everyone.
Yeah, I mean they really have nothing to play for at this point. Raiders hosting Denver. I like the Raiders in this situation. At home. I think they play hard for their coach, and I think I think if you ask the majority of them, they'd probably say, hey, we want to see this guy back. I like the Raiders.
Yeah, me too. They at least are finishing the season strong. They lost last week, but they were still competitive in that game against Indianapolis. I'll take the Raiders. Denver, once they bench Russell Wilson, even though they won last week, they look like they've mailed it in the last few weeks, so I'll take the Raiders.
All right, Chargers hosting the Chiefs without Mahomes. I'm assuming probably without Kelsey and all those guys, so I'll take the Chargers.
Yeah, I'll take the Chargers as well. The big question is, does Taylor Swift show up?
Yeah.
if her man isn't playing, but it is in Southern California. So
yeah, that's exactly. I mean, I think you can live with going to Southern California.
If it was in Foxborough, she would not show up, but she'll show up in SoCal.
Dallas heading to Washington. And every week I'm always asking, why is Dallas getting such these outrageous lines? I think this was plus 13. I get it because it's Washington, but I don't think Dallas is that good to get those type of lines, right?
Not on the road. At home,
that.
Not on the road.
That was kind of silly. I don't know. But anyways, I just take Dallas. I do think they're going to win. I just, if you're asking if I think they're going to cover that spread, I don't think so.
I think that's the tough. I want to see Washington. They know their coach is going to get let go on Monday. They're going to play their butts off if they respect them. We'll see what happens with that. It is a rivalry game. They tend to be closer than anticipated, but I think Dallas, with a chance to be a 2 seed and win that division, I don't think they're going to let it slip through their fingers, although you never know with Dallas.
All right, last but not least, battle for the AFC East. Probably the best game of the weekend, easily, with implications and everything. Buffalo at Miami. I'm going to take the Bills, John. I went back and forth. I wasn't quite sure. Miami at home, but ultimately, I think the Bills are. Miami struggles against teams with winning records, and the Bills have barely got that. But yeah, I'll take Buffalo and make them the AFC East champions.
Buffalo, if they win, they'll be the 2 seed as the AFC East champs. They'll only be looking up at the Ravens among seeding in the AFC. If they lose and a few other things happen, they might be out of the playoffs. Talk about an important game. I like the Bills as well. I think they're better than Miami. I trust Josh Allen a little more than 2. And again, we've got to see what the injuries are with those Miami wide receivers, because if Waddle is out or limping, if Tyreek Hill is limping, that's a completely different team. I'll take the Bills.
Right. And there we go. We have it there. So thank you, everyone. That's going to do it for us here today. We'll be back at some point. We'll probably release a show or two throughout the week next week. We won't be doing anything live, but we will get our picks out for wildcard weekend and all that stuff. So stay tuned for that. Give us a follow on Twitter and keep up to date with everything. And we'll look forward to talking to you when we talk to you. Thank you, everyone, and have a great weekend and enjoy the last games of the regular season.